joining us. Please stay with us. But we do move on and over to our next story, where an elderly British couple, Peter and Barbie Reynolds, have been reunited with their daughter after enduring a 7-month detention under the Taliban regime. The couple, both Afghan citizens, were held in Afghanistan after being arrested by the Taliban in February. Following high-level negotiations between the UK and the Taliban, mediated by Qatar, the couple was released and flown to Doha, where emotional reunions took place. Their daughter, Sarah Entwistle, expressed deep gratitude to the governments of Qatar and the United Kingdom for their support, emphasising the power of diplomacy and international cooperation. While the Taliban has not disclosed the charges against the couple, they were released after judicial proceedings. The Qatari government has reaffirmed its commitment to mediation and peaceful conflict resolution. Okay, we are now joined by Mark Sutherland to discuss this further. Mark, Qatar seems to be mediating quite frequently in conflicts. It seems to be a good meeting place. What role did Qatar play in mediating between the UK and the Taliban, and why has Doha become such a trusted intermediary in these situations?
Open to a lot of interpretation. We'll come back to that in a minute. And as you quite rightly pointed out, so this couple were Afghani citizens since 1970. I believe they've been doing education projects out there. And as you rightly say, we don't fully know the charges that were laid against them. This sounds very good PR for Qatar, especially as this point where we've got this recognizing, as they would say, recognizing a two-state solution, recognizing Palestine in the UN at the moment. So it all adds up to me, in my opinion, where they are deemed to try and look at this great sort of diplomatic country, even though in that case, and this is the caveat that we have to give, even though it's against a different subject, but you allude to this where there suddenly seem to be diplomacy personified, is that they have had the leaders of Hamas and living in Qatar since the 7th of October 2023, when they have also, inverted commas, perceived to be negotiating to then release the Israeli hostages. So you can then ask accuse that there are double standards. In this case, of course, it's then reported, if we look at places like Al Jazeera, who are then financed by Qatar, that that was a Freudian slip. Prime Minister Starmer of the UK is then grateful for the Qatar and their diplomacy in regard to getting this couple released. The big story is, the big sort of advice that I would give, Thomas, is that we need to constantly look under the hood, the bonnet of the car, to find out what's really going on. And in regard to Qatar, we then have to look at their actions, as I said, where you are then housing terrorist leaders of Hamas and at the same time being seen to then work hard to release the hostages that were taken on the 7th of October in just appalling outrages and what happened on that day, Thomas.
Okay, Mark, thank you very much for joining us here on the programme. Always a pleasure to talk to you. We now move on over to Europe, where a